All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome in. Another nice new edition of Celtics Beat. Adam Kaufman with you, and joined by a guy that is just, honestly, he's an even better guy than he gets credit for, which is saying something because everybody says what a great guy he is, and it's true. Cedric Maxwell, an NBA Finals MVP, part of the CLNS Media Network here, and also, of course, the longtime radio analyst of the Boston Celtics across the various platforms, most recently and currently 98.5 The Sports Hub. Max, how are you, buddy?
I am doing just fine. It is always a joy when I get on your show with you to cut it up and talk about NBA basketball or whatever we wander into. We have a tendency to do that sometimes.
Yeah,
loving the fact that I'm having a great summer so far.
We do wander. There's no doubt about it. In fact, let's wander right off the hop. We got plenty of time to get into Celtics and Summer League, which I know you've been keeping an eye on, of course, offseason moves. And since our last show, the Celtics added Dennis Schroder. We'll get into that. But let's veer for a second. So this is a reward for those who are watching versus just listening. I'm wearing one of the great homage as the company is NBA Jam shirts. I'm going to show you this. Can you see this, Max? Yeah, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale. Obviously, the game NBA Jam. It's got the ratings on speed and three-pointers and dunks and defense. I feel like, and I'll tell you, for people that can't see and are just listening, McHale looks like he was kind of disrespected in the dunk category. I mean, he's got just a little sliver of green and then a whole lot of red. He was a better dunker than that.
No, he was a better dunker than Larry. I can definitely say that. And I think
Larry's like 3/4 of the bar.
Yeah, I'm like, and look at Larry also was defense. I think that Kevin was a better defender than Larry. So your shirt might have a little bias and might be a little off, but we're going to go with that right now.
Now, I want some self-assessment here. If you were on this shirt, how much of the bar are you filling up in these, speed, three-pointers, dunks, defense categories?
Well, that three-point line would be going back the other way. It might be negative. I had 9 attempts. No, it was 13 attempts, I think, and made 1 my entire career. Most of them were just hoisting up, late the shot clock, but I wouldn't be involved. Defense, I'd be pretty good. Other aspects, dunking, I'd be the same way. I'd be down on the other end because I wasn't a dunker. So I think my shirt would be okay, but part of it would be negative instead of positive.
Well, Max, you know what they say, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to this, but you never forget your first. So do you remember that three-pointer?
It was the only one, yeah. I was in Houston. It was a blowout game. And I remember we got beat by the Rockets, and I was in the locker room, and I ran in, and Danny Ainge was the only one who could see me. And I put my hands up to symbolize I had made a 3, and he just laughed. Danny came in and did it one time in a blowout game. We got blown out, and everybody yelled and screamed at him. I'm like, damn, Danny, you can't do it in front of the other guys unless you win. So that was pretty funny. So I do remember that moment. It was a fond moment in the right-hand corner, knocking one down.
So, Max, we haven't had you on this show in a little while now. Try not to bug you too often, but obviously you have your podcast as well, the Cedric Maxwell podcast, you and Jose. So hopefully people listen to that here as part of the CLNS Media Network. But I haven't heard you, at least on this program, weigh in on what has been a very different offseason here for Boston since, everything came to that first round crashing end against the Nets, which everybody expected, by the way. But then, just flick of the switch, like next morning, Danny Ainge is going to retire. Brad Stevens elevated to president of basketball operations. You fast forward, Ime Udoka is added as a first-time head coach. Obviously, a lot of supporters out there. And then just the roster movement. Kemba Walker sent away. Al Horford comes in. Moses Brown, then he's shipped out. You have Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroder, who I mentioned as well. Chris Dunn, we'll see if he sticks on the roster. Bruno Fernando, who's now in Summer League with the team as well. They had just the second-round pick, Begaron there from France, who we're not going to see this coming year. And just a flurry of offseason movement that even Udoka alluded to while in Las Vegas watching the Summer League squad may not be done. Obviously, a ways to go before the season starts. So what have you made of this retooling, this transition we've seen?
Well, first of all, I'll go with the first part with Danny Ainge stepping down. I was surprised, and I don't think any of us saw it coming. And then more surprised when Brad stepped into the position. I had a chance to talk to Brad when they were introducing Ime at the practice facility. And I said, who would be better buying the groceries than somebody who has done and had this team under his watch for the last 6-7 years? And Brad totally looked at me and said, yep, you're right. He would know the strengths and the weaknesses better than anybody else of this team. So I look at that and I'm happy. Ime coming in is, this is going to be a work in progress with him. Who really knows? First time head coach coming in, the Celtics have put their marbles in. The ownership, loves him. He seems like, that kind of guy that is going to. One thing he talked about Brown and Tatum. He said, they want me to coach them hard. And that was music to my ears, because there were sometimes when you take a shot, it's a bad shot. Brad didn't really say that much. And when you take a bad shot, I think you need to, to have something in you, just to look over at the coach or something. So I like the fact that he's going to demand more attention on the defensive end, more ownership to what you do as a player to make this team better. And you have two great scorers in Tatum and Brown. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to say anything different about them, but I think you look at them as they have to do some things which are going to be different for this team to get better. They're going to have
Cantor, by the way, another one. I didn't mention him before when I was rattling off all those names. He's back. But, and I'm sorry to cut you off, to go on with what you were just talking about with, Brad having the opportunity to buy the groceries. Of course, people think back to the famous Bill Parcells conference there talking about that. But I guess what I wonder is, and I'm curious as to, kind of how you view this whole thing. It's like, on the one hand, Brad only wants to be so involved in the coaching. You listen to him, he says all the right things. Like, this is, I'm eager for that first loss so I can go and put my arm around the new head coach and say, hey, this is just one. It's going to be tough, but you're going to be great and everything's wonderful and all of that stuff going forward. But, at the same time, he's very hands off. He's like, once he's hired the coach, which obviously he has, it's his show. But I can't help but feel, and I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, it's just an observation, I can't help but feel that even though he is no longer the head coach, he is still in many ways building this thing within his vision. You hire Udoka, who's obviously a defensive-minded coach, as Brad is, even though, there was no indication of that last season. But generally speaking, teams have thrived under Brad here in Boston when it's been defense first. You bring in Dunn, Richardson, Schroder, Horford, a whole bunch of guys, obviously, that are defense first players, not so much Cantor, obviously, but, you get him on the veterans minimum. Is Brad looking to still, not pull the strings, because he's not setting a lineup, he's not telling Ime what to do, but is he doing this within his vision more so almost than that of the coach?
I think every general manager does that. I think Danny did it in his vision, what he wanted his team to be like. When you got Kyrie Irving, that was his vision. When you were playing and you had guards moving up and down the floor, shooting the threes, running the fast break, that was Danny Ainge's vision. So any general manager who comes in and formulates a team, normally that is how he played and what his strengths were. So I definitely think that Brad is doing that. He is looking at trying to make this team more defensively minded. And I've always said this about this team. When this team has decided they were going to out-defend you, they won their share of games. When this team has tried to outshoot you, they've lost those same number of games.
So is that I don't know, and what you just said there about Danny's vision being up and down the floor and shooting threes and everything. I mean, Brad, as we know, had guys doing that. Was that sort of a mantra from above, or did Brad, does Brad dive into the analytics, the stats, the percentage threes versus twos and all that? Does he believe in that as well? I guess what I'm wondering is, will we see Ime, will we see his teams out here taking 30, 40 3-pointers a game, or is he going to dial that back? Because even though it is very much today's NBA, today's style, maybe he doesn't build with, within that mindset.
I think that his vision has been formulated by Greg Popovich, a great coach, coach. And if you watch what Pop's teams have done over the years, they have defended really well. They were fundamentally sound. They did not make mistakes. And that's how I think that he's going to base and construct his team and being very, very, very sound. You think about Tim Duncan. That's when they said, everybody say, just plain vanilla, just plain old vanilla. Nothing, but it was exceptional. But it wasn't anything that was, blowing you out of the water, any moves he did, anything like that. And I think that's what he wants his team to be. Understated on the offensive end, but overstated on the defensive end. And I think that is more of what Greg Popovich taught him as being a coach.
This Celtics team, as noted, may not be done building. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are more moves to come, even potential trades, depending, like could Chris Dunn be sent out, that type of, that level, because I certainly don't think Marcus Smart is going to be traded, although maybe you disagree with that. I know there have been rumors in this offseason that they could be looking to send him off versus giving him that 4-year, roughly $70 million extension.
Here's what I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? You mean the one true defender that you have on this team,
right?
The one true defender that that's gonna bust his ass every night and is gonna defend up to the yang and make these exceptional plays.
Yep.
Why would he be the person that you would send away? Last year he was also your best facilitator. He was your best passer. So I think he's grown into a role, and you know how I feel about him.
Yeah,
I am truly a fan of Marcus Smart. I've always been. I know you have a little different feel about it.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm absolutely a Marcus Smart fan.
So there's some people who do, and some people have a different feel. But for me, it's like, what's the sense of urgency when you think about having your best defender go away and your best playmaker go away?
I'm with you there. Celtics fans, this will, ring true in the hearts of many in this house. We do not slander Marcus Smart. I'm right there with you on Marcus Smart, but there are a lot of people, as you know, that gripe about the 3-pointers, the early shot clock shots, the, bad shots, heat check shots, all that stuff. And I never got mad about it. And here's why. It was openly encouraged by Brad. What like at that point, you're just doing what your coach is telling you to do. I wonder if Ime Udoka is going to rein that in a little bit, because I don't think Marcus is nearly as bad a shooter as a lot of people think he is. I think he's an average shooter. I think he's a fine shooter. I don't need him out there taking 7 3-pointers a game, versus, taking shots in some cases away from guys who are better shooters. And I'm not just talking about, obviously, like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, Aaron Nesmith, guys like that. You don't need Smart taking all those shots on average every single game. That being said, Ime can shape him. He can mold him in his vision, because you don't listen to the coach. That doesn't go well for you. As you certainly know as a former player. So you got to listen to your coach. You got to buy into the new voice. I'm wondering if Ime Udoka changes his style just a little bit. Not all the areas you just outlined. You want all that to continue, but offensively, in terms of the way he shoots and the frequency in which he shoots.
I think that everybody should be on that same page. I mean, as much as we think that Tatum has a green light or Brown has a green light, there are a lot of times when I am screaming and yelling, how about 2 points? How about just taking the ball towards the rim? So I think that Ime is going to change that vision of attacking the rim a little bit more. Jason Tatum, the thing about him was his free throws. The number of free throws have to go up. If you are a volume shooter, they have to go up. He should be getting someplace around 8 to 10 free throws a game. Whereas many games he would get 3, 4 free throws a game, and that can't happen. Ime's vision with all those players, including Marcus Smart, I think hopefully will be the same way. Because you're looking, when you're talking to me, you're talking about somebody who was a high percentage shooter, who shot around the rim, who shot a bunch of free throws, who looked to get the other guys in foul difficulty. The easiest way for a team to not defend you is when you take threes, because a lot of times you're off balance, you're not centered, and those shots are 30%, 35%, something like that. So I don't believe in the analytics as much as other people. I believe that when you take high percentage shots, attacking the rim, you got an opportunity, two things. One, if you miss a shot, you can get your rebound. Two, you get a guy in foul difficulty. Three, if a guy's in foul difficulty, he cannot hurt you when his ass is on the pine. So there are a lot of things I believe in that way.
I'm curious what you think of not just Ime Udoka, the reputation, even the man, but what you've observed so far in the very limited time that he has been coaching this team. There are only so many times that he's been out in front of the media, obviously, but I feel like whenever he is, he tells you something very specific that, you know, you can even interpret, quite frankly, as little jabs, little pot shots, you know, little just, look, we did it one way before I was here. Now we're going to do it another way. And that's important. For instance, you know, like that opening press conference, and he said it multiple times since, you know, sort of poking Brad about the 27th ranked offense in terms of assists or whatever it was. And then even this last time in Las Vegas, a couple of days ago, he said, you know, he was asked about, like, so what are you looking for? What kind of team do you want to have? And he said, I want our best players, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, to be playmakers, to be better playmakers. And I thought that was just such a, you could look at it as, well, yeah, sure, of course, as an obvious statement. I took it as one that was, it was almost voicing what so many of us were screaming throughout last year. Trust your teammates, play together, no more ISO ball. You know, it's, and I like hearing things like that come out of his mouth.
I think it's easy to say, but I think you look at guys' games too. And I remember talking to Danny, and we were talking about the differences between Tatum and Brown. I said sometimes for me, with Tatum, as great as he is, when he has the ball and he's dribble, then the defense becomes more entrenched and you don't move. Danny says to me, which I thought was true, and I said, now Jaylen on the other side, I said, he is quick, he's efficient. It's up, it's out, I'm going home. I'm out the door. Danny made a good point with me. He said, Tatum has to put the ball on the floor a little bit more. He doesn't have that in his game like Brown. He's going to try to beat you towards the hole with a stutter step dribble. He's going to try to beat you, you know, stepping away from the rim. And it takes 2 or 3 more dribbles to do that. That is what was my concern. So I think that there's points for improvement with both these guys. I, probably like you, did not like the fact that, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I didn't like the fact that Tatum went to the Olympics. God bless him, he won a gold medal. But with the shortened season, with him having COVID, I just wanted him to rest. I wanted him to take a time to be away from the game and just rest his body and rest his mind. Now you come off the Olympics, you got less than a month to get prepared again, to crank your body back up. And I have this saying, either you rest your body or your body's going to rest you. And what I mean by that was some kind of injury. So I'm not saying he's going to happen to him, but I just really wanted him to get a little step back away from the game and look at it from afar and be more analytical in his mind instead of physical. Now, there's some things I think he learned in the Olympics by playing with some of those great players, because there were times when he turned out to be the show in the Olympics. So it boded well, I guess, in that other side for him to play in it, and kudos to him for what he ended up doing.
Does that, I understand what you're saying for sure. It's something we've talked about on this show in weeks past. But do the pros outweigh the cons? The cons, obviously, everything that you just outlined, and you're dead on. But the pros of the experience playing in that stage, playing with those guys, like you said, and potential recruitment down the road. I mean, who the hell knows? We know the way this league works, obviously. And we know how some of these super teams have been formed in the past. Would have been great, obviously, if he had Bradley Beal there with him as originally designed, but it's not like those two need to get to know each other better. We all know what the objective seemingly is between the two of them. But, being able to play more than he already has for Greg Popovich and learning from him, being there with Ime Udoka every step of the way, even though Udoka was the assistant coach, but now being able, on a personal level to build on their relationship and say, okay, I'm going to be coaching you. I am your head coach next season. So it's even bigger than that. Do the pros outweigh the cons, do you think, of him going?
Yes, I think they do. In my mind, I didn't like it, but if you look at it the way it actually happened, because early on you said, man, what a disaster this is. You looked at that team not playing well, all the things going wrong. And then all of a sudden it clicked into another gear. So I think the pros actually outweighed the cons in him playing in the Olympics. It was just my own opinion of me looking at him as a player and knowing how much it takes to lead a team, and then for him to have COVID and watching his game change during that time. Remember him saying to the media, and he had one of the worst games I'd seen him play. It was in Washington right after he had COVID. And he said there were times out there I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
He said, I started playing with an inhaler. And so for me, it was an opportunity to kind of just,
give your body a break.
Yeah, center yourself a little bit more because of COVID and all the things and the seasons and the bubble and all these things coming together.
Well, look, Jaylen Brown was, as you said, sometimes your body will rest you. I mean, he was forced into that. He would have been there. He would have been on that roster. He would have been part of that team if not for the late season injury that sidelined him.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility, but again, he didn't have COVID. Knock on wood. Yeah. He wasn't one of those guys.
Yeah.
And for him to play, I think would have probably been a little bit different for me looking at it. But things worked out well. They won the Olympic medal, gold medal. He comes back with more confidence. Comes back, as you said, maybe an opportunity to recruit some guys and bring them over with him. There were some people at NBC Comcast the other day. They were going on, oh, Tatum and Brown, when are they going to be tired of losing? And that, I said, wait a minute. Jason Tatum hadn't even played under the new contract yet.
That's right.
Going out the door already. I mean, There's a 5-year deal is starting out this year with a brand new coach. So let's just not get too high strung about what might happen. Matter of fact, to me, this season could be a wash in the sense that you have a new coach, you have players who are trying to adjust to a new system, you have a new guy buying the groceries in Brad. You look at this team and this is when I get a chance to, I guess, throw the dice back at you. You looking at this team right now, what place is this team right now in the Eastern Conference?
So I think they could, and this is kind of a cop-out, Max, but I think they could be anywhere between 4th and 10th. To me, they're absolutely at their worst a play-in team. So I don't see them outright missing the playoffs. I do believe they're a playoff team. I do believe they're a top 6 team. But if you were to tell me going into the year anywhere between 4th and 10th, pardon me, I absolutely believe that, because this is just, it's this team to me is deeper. It's more well-rounded. It is better than last year.
Well, let me ask you this then. You make that point, but let me ask you this. Let's go down the number of teams. Let's see who do you think is better than them right now?
Well, Brooklyn's better, obviously.
Brooklyn? Okay, well, I'm going to go with this. Slow down.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Brooklyn, 1.
Milwaukee's better.
2.
Miami's better.
3.
So those are definites.
3. Okay.
Chicago could be better.
Well, we ain't got Chicago either. Let's say, how about Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, I know what they did last year. I still don't
Yeah.
love the Hawks, but you can. I'll certainly listen to it.
Atlanta, okay.
Okay.
So those four, that's all you. That's as far as you're going right now.
That's as far as I would go with automatics. And like I said, I wouldn't even make Atlanta an automatic, but those first three for sure.
Let me ask you. So you wouldn't say Philly is better?
I wouldn't say automatically. We still don't even know if Ben Simmons is going to be on that team.
Ben
you know, and if you move him,
Ben Simmons isn't that team. Joel Embiid is that team.
No, I know. Yeah, but you can't tell me Ben Simmons stinks.
And I know. So if you're, he stinks.
Right. So if you're moving him away, what are you getting in return?
I still believe that Philly is a better team. I see this team right now is maybe 7. When you
this team, the Celtics team.
Yeah, I think maybe 7. When I start thinking about the number of teams you talked about, and you look what Miami has done. Miami has really gotten a stick down there, man. It's going to be, it's going to be, there's going to be some tough roads to hoe, man. When you think about those teams and playing, and another team is going to really be good, and I think right in that wheelhouse is going to be Charlotte. Charlotte improved on what they had with their young point guard. We don't know if there's a certain gentleman that can stay healthy all year.
Yeah, we'll see if Hayward can stay on the floor.
We're not sure about that.
Yeah.
But those other pieces, Bridges and those guys, they became a better team last year. So the prospects of the way you play, and as you said, you put Chicago in the mix over there, that could be really give the Celtics really a hard road, a bumpy road.
So that in mind, I mean, there's no denying the East got better, to your point. Have the Celtics gotten better? Or have they, because last year, we never even got an indication of what they could be because they were just never healthy. Whether it was injuries or COVID, they, far and away lost more man games than anybody else across the league. And that's not to make an excuse. It's just reality. We never saw what that team was designed to be or could become. Last year was a wasted year, not intentionally. A lot of people think this year is wasted intentionally based on the way they've rebuilt this roster. I happen to believe they are while not a contender, a better team than what they were last year. They are a better than 500 team, which is what they were last season. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that they are?
I agree with that.
Around?
I agree with that, especially when you start thinking about their bench right now. I think that is to me, is going to be the key. Last year, when you start looking at your bench, and as you said, we're going to probably get to Schroder in a minute, who he is as a player, and look at the other pieces that they're trying to add in with Dunn and guys like that. We don't know if they're going to be here, but still, just the quality of those guys. And as much as I love Taco as a person, basketball-wise, the game has moved so far away from him that how is he going to affect you or ever play for you? Those slots, those 3-4 slots down at the bottom were tough. I mean, I hate the fact that, you start losing, a couple of guys here and there. Kimba was really a cool dude, man. I loved him, but I understood what the Celtics were doing. And will Al Horford come back in the leadership role? That's gonna be just as big, because when Al was here, Al was a quiet leader. Will he be better? Will he make Rob Williams? Will he make him better? Will he be more accountable? When you're Rob Williams and you're 25 years old, as you know, you had your best body. I don't think I'm looking at your face. I don't think you're 25 anymore.
I wish. That'd be nice.
At 25, you could run through a wall and there wasn't a pain or ache that you had. You ran all day. Rob Williams plays 6-7 games and boom, he's out.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned right now about his health. How long can he play? I love the fact you bring back Cantor because, women, chicks, guys, everybody, they love the second chance opportunities. He is one of the best. He is one of the best offensive rebounders the Celtics have had in the last 10, 12 years.
Sure.
Getting those second chance opportunities. So I like some of the things that they brought back and who's going to be eliminated.
So talking about this roster, Max, you brought up Enes Kanter. Now, I like Evan, if Evan Valenti were here with us for this show, Evan was not excited about the Cantor re-signing. He said, I can't do any more Enes Kanter minutes, after what he saw in Boston a couple years back. I, for one, at a certain point in time, Max, you look at role, you look at salary, you look at all of it, putting a team together. And Enes Kanter for 1 year in the veterans minimum of what, $2.7 million for what he can do offensively, for what he can do as a rebounder. Yeah, he's not the best defensive player. He's not even a good defensive player, but for what he can do in those other areas, and plus as a glue guy, a locker room guy, a popular teammate, all of that, when there was reported friction in the locker room, Tristan Thompson, among others last season, to me, it's just such an easy value add. It's such an easy value add. And if he's, for any reason unplayable in the mind of Udoka because you need to crack down defensively and you can't put him out on the floor, you don't, because like you said, you got Williams, hopefully you got Horford and beyond.
He checks the boxes to me.
Yeah.
Because you said, just playing defense, maybe you don't have him out there, but offensively getting second chance opportunities, tough. He's going to set mean picks, locker room guy, great guy that really his teammates have embraced him. 2.7 million. I know for you that's little peanuts, but
oh yeah,
in that respect, I think it's a steal. It's a no-brainer. And he was already familiar with the guys who he's playing with now, in Brown and Tatum. So I love his pickup. I love the fact that you bring him in and that you maybe moved on. The one guy I'm going to miss a little bit is going to be Simi Ojale. Because I think he was, with fans and everybody else, I think he was a little underrated because he was solid. He was a solid defender. We didn't like the fact he was shooting threes all the time. We wanted him to go towards the basket, but he was just solid. He was a solid defender. He was the one guy that you felt that if you put him in front of Giannis, that Giannis wasn't going to Euro step and go by him other than Marcus Smart. And
so the Bucks went out and got him.
So what? Yeah.
So the Bucks went out and got him.
Exactly. That's what happened in that Horford trade, right? The Horford move to Philly. That's why Philly went out and got him, because he did such a great job with Joel Embiid.
That's right.
Now, one of the things that I've talked about, and I want to talk on your show about, is the fact that I was hoping that Brad pulled the trigger. And I love Tatum and I love Brown. But what I see is two players who are almost identical. I want some contrast. I'll let you go back to your mental Rolodex, and I've done this before with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Name me a time where you've seen Brown or Tatum, your two best players, go up to the opposition and say, if you do that shit again, I'm going to knock your head off.
Oh, neither one of those guys is built that way. No.
So your two best players.
That's Marcus Smart.
Yeah. So your two best players, and I'm not advocating that they fight, but I want them to protect themselves. And because of that, I almost wish that Brad, and the only asset you have like that is the guy that I love and put it out there, was Karl Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
Karl Anthony Towns is losing. He checks the boxes for what you want. He was one of the last guys to have a real fight in this league with Joel Embiid.
Yeah. But then, as everyone does in this generation, they just went and took it to social media.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted, if I was going to make a move, as much as I love Brown, I think I probably would have moved him if I could have gathered Joel Embiid. Not to say I don't like him as a player or a person, because I absolutely love him, but I want to see contrast between my two best players. What is the difference when you think about Brown and Tatum?
Well, I guess I would first wonder to what you just said, though, like who was available. Like, obviously, Philly's not moving Embiid, and Philly's not taking Brown for Embiid. So that wasn't even on the table. And then Towns, you've heard his name mentioned from time to time, but it's not like, there's been any real serious reporting about teams exploring trades for him or them looking to deal him away.
But you still look at that. Like there are opportunities out there. Nobody ever thought we were getting Kevin Garnett. We got him. I mean, there are opportunities when you look and you talk about players that you have. Yeah. You move around. I remember some people were screaming at me saying, you don't want to get this guy because he's this age and you don't want to do this. It was like for a while, everybody was going up and down and said Damian Lillard was coming here to Boston. And everybody said, well, you'd have to give up Brown for him. I said, okay. Well, no, his age, he's right. Look at his age. And
well, you're definitely shortening your window by doing something like that.
But this is what I said. I said, how old was Kevin Garnett when you got him?
A little different, wasn't it? You had
how
three guys
old,
right around 30 years old.
How old was he when you got him? Virtually the same age. Yeah. And the thing about Dame Lillard to me is he's a generational guard.
Sure.
There are not a lot of those in this league that you look at as a generational guard. And on top of that, there's a contrast between him and Tatum when it comes to the mean-spirited. Dame Lillard would step on your mom's hand if it was down on the ground. He would stomp on her damn fingers and then go to the basket. I'm not sure if, where we have our players right now, how many times have they helped up the opposition? Sure. Drives me freaking bonkers.
Well, I guess what I would ask you though is, if like let's go to fantasy land.
Yeah, and why not?
Just for giggles, say the Celtics were able to move Jaylen Brown plus, because it's not just Brown a 1-for-1. Jaylen Brown plus for Damian Lillard. So your figureheads, the heads of the snake are Lillard and Tatum, and then you've got whatever you've got around them. Are they a contender? I don't think they are.
I don't think they're contender, but I think they're closer.
Closer?
I like him better than I like Beal.
Well, sure. Although Beal's
better than Beal, but I like
younger.
At the end, since we're in fantasy land, we're playing this game.
But I wouldn't trade Brown for Beal either. Obviously Brad, Stevens, his objective right now is to add Beal in a free agency next year.
Okay. Would you trade Brown since we're in this fantasy world?
Yeah.
Would you trade Brown for Karl Anthony Towns?
I would do that. Yes.
Them bobbleheads behind you right now, they're shaking their head going,
yeah, I would do that.
Make that move because I think you start looking at his age and he has to be at some point tired of losing, man. The dude,
you would think. Yeah. I mean, they're not going anywhere in Minnesota anytime soon.
He has to be at that point where he's going to tell these guys, look, man, get me out of here. And we know now that players in the NBA, if they want to go, they're going.
Right. Well, but to circle back to what you said, that's why your friends over there at NBC are saying, how long before Tatum and Brown want out? And you're saying the contract hasn't even kicked in yet for Tatum. But that's the fear, right? That's the fear of these guys saying, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, that is why I think you make those kind of moves, which are, to me, are blockbuster moves. If you got Towns and you had Tatum together, are you a lot more closer?
If you have Towns and Tatum together, I think you are closer. I would wonder what the package would be, obviously, because depth of your roster is, factors into that equation. But just as two stars in a vacuum, yeah, I think Townsend and Tatum is a better match than obviously Brown and Tatum.
Yeah, because the thing I'm looking for again is, and no offense again at all to Brown, because I love Brown.
Sure.
But I want some contrast. Like, you don't do peanut butter and peanut butter on a sandwich. You don't do that when you make, it's like peanut butter and jelly. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Both these guys are, to me, they're peanut butter. I need some jelly. I need something that's going to be different that makes me look and going, okay, this is what checks the box. Then this is why I look at Tatum and Brown. What do they do different than the other guy? What does one guy do that much different that you say, you look at and go, wow, that's really
good. I mean, I think there are replicated talents there, obviously. I don't think they're totally what's the word I'm looking for? Redundant. I don't agree with that, but
no, I'm not.
I don't think there's there's that marked, like, because didn't Kevin Garnett say that he thought that those two guys were redundant to one another? I don't believe in that, but I especially in the league the way it is now with positionless basketball and the emphasis on the wing and all of that, I think you can, and we've seen it with Boston. I think you can have two guys like that. What you can't have, which is what Danny was doing the last few years, is you can't have two guys like that and a shoot first point guard. You can't have two guys like that and a Kyrie Irving and an Isaiah Thomas, a Kemba Walker. Like, that's not a good fit, which is maybe what makes Marcus Smart or Dennis Schroder, whomever it may be, or maybe it's both them out there on the floor as a playmaker first, as a distributor first. If Smart certainly more so than Schroder, maybe that makes for a better fit. Maybe we see a different dynamic here. Yeah,
I can't wait for us to get around to the Schroder talk.
Well, let's talk about him. Let's talk about this guy, because we were talking about money, and like you said, like 2.7 for Cantor. I mean, for me, yeah, life-changing money. Building out your NBA roster, pennies. It's nothing. And Schroder, to me, 1 year, and I know like a lot of people have gripes with Schroder, and I get it. I do get it. Like, he wouldn't be number one on my list either in free agency, again, in a vacuum. Like, if you said to me, like LA last year, you can have Dennis Schroder for 4 years, $84 million. You want him? No, I'm running the hell away. But if I can have him at 1 year and 5.9, accepting it, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a no-brainer. The problem I have, though, is, and this is just me, a numbers guy, how did he turn down $84 million?
Be nice. I hope he fired his agent, right?
Your grandmother and your sister, everybody say, you did what? Baby, you turned down what?
To stay in Los Angeles with LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I mean, even if you don't stay in there, you still got the $84 million.
Yeah.
And I look at that and said, I'm not checking it. I'm not being scrutinized as, the overall intelligence. But man, you don't get a flag doesn't go off in your head. A bell doesn't go off and the ding, ding, ding. I mean, you turned down $84 million, man. And to get six.
As one of the radio voices of this team, and as obviously a media person and someone who's like, I mean, you're going to deal with these guys, hopefully in this world face to face. Like, hopefully you're going to see Schroder, talk to Schroder, both on the air and off. Is that an off limits question? Is that something that you're going to ask about?
No, it's an off limits question. You can't go up to the guy I really want to and say, what the hell are you thinking about? You had $84 million in your hands.
Yeah.
You just said, no, I don't want that. But what I want is I want $6 million from the Celtics.
Give me a prove it deal. Give me that prove it deal.
I mean, we've all been there before. Is that one in the hand and two in the bush? Is what it's about? I mean, that to me was like, I don't know, something just ain't right with me when it comes to that decision. It's just like, but for the Celtics, it is absolutely a great deal to bring in a quality player like him who is worth $84 million and you get him for $6 million. What did you just do? You just, instead of buying your stuff at Nordstrom's Rack, you found that same product at TJ Maxx. That's what you did. That's what just happened. That's what just happened to you in the numbers thing. You got the same quality, but you bought it for less.
So how do you like his fit with this team? And we don't know if this team as it's currently constructed is going to stay, like we've said before. But let's say you have Schroder, you have Smart, you have Dunn, you have Pritchard, you have, all these guys. And I don't want to say that they all replicate one another. They don't, in many ways they don't. But across this roster, like right now, we just have way too many bodies. Like someone's going to go. Someone's, whether it's like a Grant Williams, whether it is Dunn, whether it's Carson Edwards, like this roster as we look at it right now, as it exists in this moment, is not going to be obviously come the regular season. So how does Schroder fit in with this group? Do you salary aside, just the fit as an offensive contributor, as a starter versus as a reserve, as a defender? How do you like what he brings to the team?
I like what he brings to the team as a defender. I like his shrewdness. The thing that he was mentioned as when he was in Germany, it was always said that he was the German Rondo. His intellect for looking at the game, dissecting the game, not that, he's not going to beat you with blazing speed, but he's quick enough to get by you. He plays angles. He's not a bad shooter from the three-point line. His best years to me probably were as much as he played in Atlanta, his best years actually when he's in Oklahoma coming off the bench, where he should have been sixth man of the year. He played that well. So I think that there's his intellect for the game. His ability to compete is going to be good too, because you have him for 1 year. So now he's trying to prove everybody on the other side that I'm worth that $84 million. So there's some qualities about him that I absolutely love. And he is not going, and I've always seen him never back down. I'm always talking about those guys who might fight and might do something a little nasty, a little dirty to you. Schroder is that, how you've been out sometime during the summertime and
a little gnat flying around your face.
you just watching something because, man, the thing is like, what the heck? Schroder is like that on the defensive end, where he gets into people's heads and sometimes takes them away from the game because he anticipates so well and he slides his feet really, really well. He's a lot like Marcus Smart, an irritant on the defensive end. So I like that.
Yeah, that's me outside 5 p.m. every day of August, just swatting the hell of
please. You say that, I'm a big nature guy. These nature shows, I love watching them. I see these people up in Alaska during the summertime. Man, mosquitoes are
no
I couldn't be there. They're just one guy finally showed, he said, watch my hand. He put his hand in front of the camera and all these mosquitoes it would have drove me absolutely crazy. I could have never done it. But that's what the irritant I think about those 2 point guards, those 2 guards that we talked about, Smart and also Schroder in that way.
So for anyone listening, don't confuse what I'm saying here. I don't want to present this group like it's the 18-19 team that we had such high expectations for, when it was like, there's, you had Morris and Rozier and all these guys off the bench, but there's only one basketball. But I'm looking at this group, and you have Tatum, you have Brown. That's where most of your offense is going to come from. It should anyway. You also have Smart, who's going to take his shots. Schroder, who's a guy who can reliably get you 15 points a game or more, depending obviously in how you use him. Richardson's a guy who can get you double digits. Cantor, depending on how you use him, could, and he won't, but he could get you double digits. At a certain point, you're looking at it and saying, Horford, yeah, absolutely, Al Horford. So and heck, Robert Williams, if he's a starter, he's a guy that could get you 10 a game, probably won't, I guess, again, depending on everyone else, but it filters down, it trickles. And what we're seeing here in Summer League, and it's Summer League, but what your aspirations are for a Peyton Pritchard, for an Aaron Nesmith, for a Romeo Langford, those guys in particular, never mind if like a new fan favorite, Yam Madar, is on this roster or something, but those 3 guys in particular, what your hope is for them offensively, not necessarily just this year, but just in their growth, in their development, is there room? Is there room for those guys to go out there and be as impactful, to develop as much as you would like them to, or is Brad really swung the other way in trying to load up the back half of this roster with veterans?
I happen to agree with you on that, and the fact that you have too many of those guys, or to have a couple of good young players over there sitting on the bench chomping at the bit. Where are they going to get their time? I mean, that was one thing that Brad did. If I was being critical of Brad, was when he had that great team, it's like he was trying to play everybody. You cannot play everybody. You got to get to a rotation of maybe 7, 8 guys. And then everybody else is going to be sitting on the bench for a while. So I think their development as players, those guys you mentioned, Pritchard, Naismith, is probably going to be stymied because they won't get that amount of time, especially the way this team is constructed right now today.
Yeah, I wonder what it looks like going forward. I really do. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I think it'll be a fun team to watch. I just think there's there's a lot of depth, and depth is a good thing because there's injuries. Who knows what COVID will or won't present, the the Delta variant and all, and whatever other variants that come along the way. You can never have too much depth, but I just wonder. I'll be really curious because like we saw what Brad did. We saw for 8 years what Brad did. We don't know how Ime Udoka is going to run this ship, and I'm curious to see what this looks like once we get to training camp and into the season.
And this is one of those things you mentioned this, so I've always liked to ask this to people like you have influence because you are on the air. What do you feel about the vaccination? Do you feel like people should be vaccinated or shouldn't be vaccinated? It's their choice. How do you feel? I would like to put you on the
sure. No,
I love this.
Yeah, no, I'm pro the vaccine. I think that there's I'm pro science is really what it comes down to, and I think the science generally supports the vaccine. I think there are obviously people out there that don't believe that, and everyone has a right to their own opinion. But I think that if someone I guess to be like kind of crass about it, if you get COVID and you have decided you're not going to vaccinate yourself and you get really sick or heaven forbid worse, who do you have to blame but yourself? Like there's a reason that many of us, most of us, right, have been vaccinated against, smallpox and so many other things along the way. It's because like that. I mean, I understand herd mentality. I understand why a lot of people, there's the mindset of, let's just let it run through everybody and everybody gets it. And then we move on with our lives. It's, how long that could take, and the fact that kids, like I'm a dad with young children,
yes.
Kids can't be vaccinated right now, at least at the age that mine are, all under 10 years old. So, excuse me, it's just another wrinkle in safety and precaution and trying to keep them safe. Like I'm not, hopefully I won't get COVID, or for all I know, I've had it and just wasn't tested for it, but I'm vaccinated. So hopefully if I do get it, I'll be okay. But I'm certainly concerned about my children getting it who aren't protected.
Yeah, that's mine. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? What I understand, if you take the vaccine and you get COVID, you're not going to die. The possibility you're dying are going to be remote. So what do you? I mean, it's like at one time, and I'm older than you. It's like, and so at one time, people didn't want to wear seatbelts.
Yeah,
I'm wearing a damn seatbelt. No. I'm not wearing one. Well, but the government mandated that you wear seatbelts. Then they start giving people tickets, and now it's second nature to put on a seatbelt.
Yeah,
it's just second nature. You don't even think about it. Like, click, you buckle up. The same thing should be to me, I think, when it comes to getting vaccinated. And
I just think, like,
for me, I have a daughter who's a doctor who is totally against the science.
Really?
She has her doctorate, but she's totally against the science. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. This has to happen. And I've taught, it's like, you have a young child, protect your child, if nothing else. So I don't even understand how people don't get vaccinated unless there's a medical condition that you have. Some people have a medical condition where, they cannot do it. But if you don't have a medical condition, I don't even understand what the logic is. I've seen they talked about some of the baseball players and some of the football players right now. Say, nah, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. Why? That keeps going back to me. Why? Other than you don't want to? Why? What's the reason?
No, I mean, I think in some cases, people have reasons that they feel are justifiable, and maybe in their own world they are. I can't.
What are they?
Feel or not feel, but
tell me, what are they?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But all I was going to say is
they don't know either.
One reason that I will never understand, Max, is like well, you're going to give me the shot and inject a chip into my body, and the government's going to be watching me. And like that, the conspiracy theorists out there. It's like, may I remind you, your phone and your computer are tracking everything that you do anyway. You don't need a chip in your body. You're already, if anyone wants to watch you, you're being watched.
There are cameras on every corner. You can't do anything the way we used to back in the day.
Like it's like I won't get the vaccine, but I have an Alexa.
Yeah, I don't want to get that vaccine, but you know what? And this is what kills me about it. It's like people even, who smoke marijuana. They'll say, "Well, I'm not getting that vaccine, but I'll smoke marijuana." Well, you don't know who grew this marijuana. You don't even know what's in it. So I don't this is the platform for me. This is the issue that absolutely drives me crazy when I think about who we are and what we do as Americans and just as human beings towards another human being. Protect yourself, protect your family. I don't, it's like I have a mother and who's still living. She's 86 years old. Now I'm concerned about my kids being around her because none of them seem like they want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Finally, my oldest daughter got COVID, and she turned around later on, and about a week later, after it was almost over it or whatever happened, she turned to me and said, "Dad, COVID is real." Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
You just came to this conclusion. So, man, I just wanted to get you on the record. That's all.
Sure.
I love to get people on the record with this who I think have some influence on other people just in general statements.
Yeah, I just, I mean, not to say this very simply, but I just want people to be, I don't even want to say smart because everyone has their own definition of smart, but I want people to be safe. I'd like to, stop getting the daily emails, from the Globe or wherever, I subscribe to that like, here are today's, deaths. Like, like, how about we do something about this? And there are a lot of people. My wife works in healthcare. She's been on the front lines of this thing, in her office for a year and a half. And there are a lot of people out there that are not remotely crediting medical professionals for what they've put on the line, their role in all of this. And not just medical professionals, by the way, all the people that are in whatever walk of life that you've been on the front lines, during this. I mean, like food delivery drivers, people who work at grocery stores. Like you can go on and on and on. And it's just, it's unfortunate that this thing is still a reality and that it's not going anywhere fast.
Well, it will be as long as we have people like the governor of Florida who says, "Nope, I forbid you to wear masks in these schools."
Florida, Texas.
I'm going to take away the money you have because you are forced. This isn't politics.
Yeah.
It's not politics. This is real life. People are dying. And it's just strange that we live here in a country right now that has vaccines that we have to throw away. People in India right now would be climbing over you trying to get to, be vaccinated. So that's my spiel. I'm sorry I went on that tangent, but that's just me, and I wanted to get you on the record with me.
No, we appreciate everyone coming to our TED Talk.
Absolutely.
Max, the Summer League, a few games left as we talk right now, and the regular season, preseason, all that stuff, not too far away. Let's get you on again sometime before and see what the roster looks like at that point.
Well, let's get me on again and talk about the roster, how this team is developed, especially if they make any kind of moves. And also if we can get rid of this Delta variants and everybody get a shot. And you and I are both going to be happy. We're on the same page. Boom.
Sounds good to me. All right, Cedric Maxwell, I'm Adam Kaufman. This is Celtics Beat. Thanks to our producer, Evan Valenti. We'll catch you all soon.